All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Well, that was weird.
Haley, wow. Okay.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Listen Up Santa Paula. My name is James Lantine. And as always,
John Marquez.
The one and only, the beautiful.
Thank you.
Mr. Marcus.
Appreciate that.
Marquez.
Yeah.
I call you Marcus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People call me different things. Different ways, pronunciations.
I get it.
Yeah.
So
it's a little rough today. We don't have our producer today. So
I know.
Director.
So we're
going solo here.
I'm taking it all.
Yeah.
So we actually have a special guest.
Yes.
And I don't know if you remember this or not, but he came on our show number 50.
Yeah, last year.
And it was
a year before.
Well, I believe he was mayor at the time.
So it was a year before.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Show number 50.
Yeah.
And so he's coming today to a bid farewell. I mean, he's not like leaving.
No, we're not,
Yeah.
He's going to move on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, he's decided not to run for re-election. So
it's a new adventure.
We're going to do his exit interview. Is I think what we should.
Is that what we're calling it?
Yeah, exit interview.
Okay. Well, we should maybe wait till he's off council, but
to do the exit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
we'll do it a little early.
Be kind,
because we might learn some things before he leaves, and
it might give him an opportunity to say his last few farewells and maybe some grievances and
yeah. We'll be right back after this.
Rough Edge FM. Irritatingly irresistible internet radio at roughedgefm.com.
There's so much going on in your community that even in this age of information, it's tough to keep up. This show will help. It's all about what's new, what's happening, and what's out there. So if you're ready, sit back and listen up, Santa Paula.
Yeah.
All right, we are back.
Yes,
and
already started talking.
I know.
In the flesh. A lot of stuff to talk about.
I know. Mm-hmm. In the flesh with Mr. Andy Sobel.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
So, is it Sobel or Sobel?
Thank you for asking. It's Sobel. So my grandparents and everything were Sobel, but when we moved to Mexico, you can't say Sobel in Spanish, so we became Sobel or Sobel in Spanish. So we're Sobel.
Yeah. Why can't you say Sobel in Spanish?
Try it. It's very hard.
Sobel.
Sobel.
It doesn't flow. Same with that Spanish accent.
Okay.
Yeah, Spanish language.
So Sobel is in order to accommodate for the Spanish kind of twist to it.
Yeah. So how would you say James's last name in Spanish?
Oh, buena pregunta. Jaime Lantine.
Is it Lantine?
Lantine. Yeah, it's Lantine.
Okay.
Close. Yeah, Lantine.
It works.
There you go.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
You can move to a Spanish-speaking country and you'll be okay.
There you go. Uh-huh.
Very cool. So you joined us on episode number 50, and at the time I believe you were mayor, and so now you're going to be. You decided not to run for re-election. Correct. So how long did you serve on the council?
I was appointed in 2018. John and I were both applicants for that position.
Yeah.
So somehow
we duked it out. We did.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So we had to arm wrestle for that spot, and Andy won. So
Wow.
Yeah.
pretty close to that.
Yeah. It was. Yeah.
And then, but I think it worked out great for the city because John has been tremendous on the chamber because it really was kind of a flatline organization a little bit. So he's been great for the city. And
you've been great on council. So I think
that.
it was a perfect match there, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
So
and then I was on Measure T for 2 years. So I'm kind of counting my service as 8 years because that was a bigger deal than we all expected, I think, the oversight committee.
So what caused the appointment instead of the election?
So Council Member Martina Hernandez had resigned, and he resigned kind of too close to the election in 2018. So the city council voted instead of doing an election, which is expensive, to do an interview process. And then, so I did that, but I also decided to run because it just felt better to also run.
Yeah.
So I came in fourth. So I was pretty close to being, elected on the council, but it was the top three that year. So,
okay. Because back then we didn't have districting. So it was just the top 3 or 4 candidates that
Every
were running.
every other election, it was either 3 or 2.
Correct.
That's the way it was before it went to
Okay,
districts.
and they just took the top 2 with the most popular votes.
Yeah, that's usually how it
Correct.
works. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
and so you were number 4, and with the appointment. So that was 2018. We had COVID in 2020, so a couple years after that. And when did you run as mayor?
Well, so then in 2020, because my appointment was for 2 years, so then I ran and was on, won the election.
Right.
Mhm.
So I was on for a 4-year thing from 2024. And then the way a lot of small cities do, but Santa Paula does, is that you cycle through. So you're mayor for a year. So a council member would be mayor for a year, and then your colleagues vote you on. So in Santa Paula, we try to do our best to just make sure it's kind of obvious who's next. But we have in the past skipped over people and not voted for people. But by and large, for the last 6-7 years, probably 8 years, we've been pretty consistent on having a kind of a flow.
So like the vice mayor becomes the mayor,
Right.
and then
the
somebody
person
else moves in.
the person who hasn't been mayor the longest is kind of next down. So we have kind of a formula that we put in our norms
Okay.
to try and.
And you guys reset that up again a couple years ago or last year? How the progression, how that actually works?
Yeah,
Like
a couple of years ago.
like
So we documented it.
because even like if you came on council your first time, you had to kind of put a year in before you
Correct.
jumped in, and
Before you could be vice mayor.
yeah,
right?
exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So
So now with districting, well, the new council will probably have to revisit that a little bit to figure out how that works out.
yeah, because it's going to be because of how that works. There's still the 3 and 2. It's just you gotta how that dynamic may change a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not a district wide or at large election. So then it's
Mhm.
So we'll figure it out.
Ask your questions.
Are
I'll be
you
right
kind
back.
of? Oh, we have some technical challenges here. So that's what happens when we run solo. So so anyway, so Andy, so how's been the last 3 years of of this term?
And why 3 years? Just out of curiosity.
Well, this is your 4th year, but your previous 3
I
years.
got you.
So
Well, it's almost
well,
4.
you're 4 years. We'll say
Yes,
you're 4 years.
I've
Okay.
got about 3 weeks left on
Yeah.
it. So well, I absolutely love being a city council member. It's just, it's 7 days a week, and every day I wake up, I'm excited to do stuff. Of course, talk to people, do things, read, learn. So by and large, it's been great. We've certainly gone through a lot of kind of tough situations in the last 3 years, but
Mhm.
I think we've been very lucky because 6 years ago, or 6 years ago, council was kind of a little rough, right? So we had a more intense city manager, and we had some more kind of really passionate city council members, and so it was an intense situation. So
Mhm.
starting 6 years ago, and then we switched city managers,
Mhm.
we've had really quite a cohesive council. We've had
Mhm.
quite cohesive staff.
Mhm.
Staff and council are partners versus
Mhm.
kind of antagonistic to each other. So just in terms of being an environment that's conducive to enjoying the process, so I've been very lucky, because there's other councils even in our county, right, that just have all sorts of things going on, and that can't be very pleasant. So,
Yeah. There's neighboring cities that have some challenges, so that they're working through as well. But I have noticed in my role that how well staff works with council. You just see that the way the dynamic is right now, and a lot of positive things are getting done.
Yeah.
You're really starting to see it, because I grew up here and I saw the battles over the years, and nothing would get done. There was always these headbutts and stuff, but for some reason this council with staff has just been, there's some tough decisions, but for the most part, it's good to see everybody working together, at least going in the same direction.
Yeah.
And you guys have had some tough decisions you've had to make over the last few years. That's been, I guess that's part of the role of what you're doing. So
part of the deal. Yeah. And of course we live in sort of the challenging environment for city government, that we're kind of revenue poor.
Yeah.
So it's not like we have a lot of discretionary money to do
Yeah.
a lot of stuff that we want to do. So most of the time we're just trying to take care of business. So you really have to kind of make decisions and strategize carefully.
With a shoestring budget, in a
Yes.
sense. Yeah. So
Yeah, and if you think about it, this is really kind of volunteer. I mean, they do get a small stipend, but for the amount of responsibility and everything else that you're taking on, it's for all practical purposes, it's a volunteer position.
yeah, and you said it's a 7-day-a-week job,
Right.
so
Although, we did vote in a raise on ourselves, which is a little bit contentious. So we doubled our salaries from $300 to $600 a month. But part of that was because, people were using that volunteer language, but for some people, it's not a volunteer, right? You might have a job, you have a family, you might need daycare for a meeting. So that money for, a lot of people really matters a lot. So that one of our incentives is to increase that to help, get people interested in being on council that would otherwise be much more challenged. Right. And we also do get health insurance if we choose. So it's not, not purely volunteer, but it is, if you figure out the dollars per hour, it's, it's a very low.
Well, then the expenses have gone up too. I mean, you're traveling to meetings outside of Santa Paula, and gas is higher. Just a lot of things are higher now. So I'm sure the original was $300. Probably wasn't covering anything, all of it, at the time. So, and you guys are still on the lower end compared to other cities, correct?
So we're still, somewhere in the bottom 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
So what would you say one of your most prized accomplishments was as being on council?
Well, I was trying to think about that before I came on today. And one of the things I enjoy most, but also I think has just made me feel accomplished is, I love interacting with the residents. So oddly enough, being a council member, you can talk to anybody. You usually can't go up to people and say, "Hey, how are you doing? What's on your mind?" Stuff like that. People are just going to, freak out.
Yeah.
But as a council member, you can, knock on people's doors. If you see somebody walking around town that are tourists, you see a resident, you can just go up and say, "Hi, I'm Andy. I'm one of your city council members, and let's talk." And 100% of the time, people will engage with you. So that's a kind of a gift. You don't really think about what that gives you. So, and I've interacted with hundreds and hundreds of people over the years. And so to me, that's great. It's nice going around town where people come up and say thank you, or sometimes not thank you and stuff like that. But so that's not it's something you can look at and touch, but it is an accomplishment. And then also, we were kind of talking before 2018, we were in a structural deficit. It was a really kind of a concerning environment. So Measure T, when I got on the Measure T committee, both of us also did that. We were, one of the original members. And, I got on thinking, well, I can do 2 meetings a year. That sounds reasonable, because I was kind of enjoying my part-time working life. And I think we met like 5 times in 2 months. Everybody was kind of, a lot of people coming to the meetings saying, "Let's do this." Back then it was over $2 million, which for us was gigantic. So, being a part of that kind of original Measure T and how the city should look at it was a great accomplishment. I think we did a good job of figuring out how to use that money wisely. And so to go from kind of a structural deficit into, balanced budget, strong reserves, great. So that, again, that's kind of boring, but pretty important. But then if you look around the city, a lot of things have happened. When I got on council, there was no houses at Harvest. So it's a trip to think we have a whole new part of the city booming up. Harvard was paved, which was a multi-year conversation on how to pay for that. Santa Paula West finally came through LAFCO, so that's going to be coming up next year. Our sports park is coming on. Water tanks are put in. So we've accomplished a lot of infrastructure, really important. And then, COVID was very tough on the city and businesses, but I think council did a great job of dispersing that money. It went to like 50 different entities, nonprofits in the city helping do things. So I think that was really great. We used that money smartly, came through COVID pretty smart. Very few businesses went out of business during COVID, which is a big accomplishment.
So you mentioned something about a project on the west. What is that?
So Santa Paula West is a business park. We had to go through county to make sure we could take agricultural land, but it wasn't necessarily a sore vote. But it's 54 acres, but I think it's 34 acres or something as a business park. So
and is this so we're on the west side of town,
right? So
is this the business park that's going to be where those avocados are, right next to where we are?
It's the field right across from it, I think. So maybe, I don't know if it's the avocado.
Yeah, I don't
field.
think there's avocados there,
So-
right?
Well, they
So
used to
it's
do
just
avocados.
beyond where.
So,
All that overgrowth.
so it's your next door neighbor. That's what it's going to be. in
Yeah, it's
general.
the
Yeah.
overgrowth that we have
Yeah,
right now.
because
Well,
there's
it's,
like a
where Kmart is and where
Yeah.
Quest and all
Yeah.
that. It's right to the west of that.
Oh, okay.
North of 126.
but it comes up to Telegraph.
It
yeah.
does come.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's can be a tremendous opportunity, because another limitation we have is we're 6 square mile-ish, and we don't have a much chance to grow. So we're building housing, which is great, and doing some infill stuff, but we need more commercial and industrial space. So that's going to add on a thing. So there's a bunch of people asking about that. So that's going to be tremendous for the city.
Yeah.
And then,
it'll be nice to get that field cleared
Yes.
out and cleaned up.
of course, then we have, East Area 1, which is south of the Harvest at Halleck and 126. So that's going to be, a medical pavilion / hospital in discussion with the county. So I'm urging everybody to make sure to say that we want that when you see our elected officials. But also there'll be commercial things there, stores, restaurants, hopefully a hotel. So we're in a lot of people are concerned about getting too big, and I share that concern, but we can't get too big because we're constrained, and we can get a little bit bigger without losing this great, who we are as a city. So the small town charm.
Yeah, 'cause if you look at our growth, even with the growth we've had, I mean, we've only gained like maybe 5,000 residents. We're still, 5,000 to 6,000 in that range.
1,500. So
But I mean, over the last probably 10 years.
No, well, I think I read I think it was in 1980 something, they did a needs assessment for Parks and Rec, and I believe our population was somewhere around 29, 30,000. So then when they did that assessment a few years ago, our population was 30,000. So now officially, I think we're 31.5 or something.
Yeah,
we might
getting
be a
close to
little harder.
32.
So but we haven't. So we got a long way to go before we kind of get a big jump.
Yeah, even with that, I don't think we're going to have a business park. It's not going to bring a lot of residents, but it's bringing a lot of manufacturing and other things here. That's going to, that'll help, which is what we need, and that'll bring in other retail. That'll bring in other resources to it.
Yeah, that population jump where there's a sweet spot somewhere where all of a sudden we look great, where entities want to show up and
hopefully it's
stay
like
here.
32,000.
Yeah,
here they
exactly.
So we're right there.
But that's part of the job. The chamber and the economic development part of staff need to be getting the word out there. We're getting close to that spot. Get in here now.
And we're getting a lot of requests. I mean, we've been meeting with people lately about some of the empty buildings we have, and so we're starting to see some active interest because they see the potential,
right?
And that's exciting.
Yeah,
we're doing that. So.
Yeah, I think one of the greatest things about Santa Paula, especially over the last few years, is that there's a lot more community type activities that are going on to bring people together. And I think that's a testament to the leadership and to a lot of the nonprofit organizations that are in the area. And so,
well, when in 2018. I have the list of what people are talking about. And one of the things that, people are saying is there's just nothing ever goes on in Santa Paula, which wasn't quite true. There was a lot going on, but the perception was nothing is going on. And every week somebody complains to me that too much is going on.
Yeah.
So I didn't hear about this. Why didn't I hear about it? So great problem to have. But what a switch. That's pretty wild. But it is, we have a lot going on.
Yeah. And not just from one entity. It's like all the nonprofits, all these are doing things, and we're starting to all communicate with each other where we're not stepping on each other's toes. So there's not multiple events. But for a while there was like multiple events on one day.
Yeah.
Right.
And now it's starting to thin out a little bit more. And I get calls all the time. Hey, is there something going on this day? I'm like, no, why? We're going to plan an event, put a save the date there. We're block it out and stuff. So everybody's communicating, which is great to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have 3 events that we do every month on a regular basis. And I know there's a lot of like Anna Siders bringing in a headliner, comedian. And so they're starting to create a draw. One of the, on the Tourism Bureau, the largest population that visits that site is Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So it almost makes up a little over 50% of the people that visit that site.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Rabelais is a big draw.
Yeah.
A couple of the antique stores, their numbers are pretty good for drawing people in.
Yeah.
And then, Santa Paula, something happened definitely where we're much more on the map. So there's a lot more people making a day trip destination place, which is, fantastic. So,
I'd say 98% of all our escape rooms are people outside of the city, and probably about 30% are outside of the county.
yeah, that's tremendous.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we get maybe 2% that come from Santa Paula.
That's probably the norm for most places in town. I know
Well,
it's like the museum saying most people come in aren't from the city, they're from outside of Santa Paula.
Yeah.
Even I think maybe the theater centers where you'll get more locals that go there.
Yes.
That's probably the one entity that actually does have probably 70% are locals.
I don't know. That's a good question. We'd have to ask them because, the play, group in the county is really strong. So they go to each other's places. So I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to ask them that. But,
I know they have season ticket holders.
Yeah.
So.
And almost all those are local. Quite a bit of them are local.
Yeah.
So.
You have a couple more meetings left.
2. Yes.
more
So
meetings
we have another November meeting coming up, and then we have, usually it's the 1st and 3rd, but in December, we're not having our first meeting on the 4th because the county couldn't verify the votes in time for us to make sure we knew who's going to be on council or not. So the first meeting, be warned, everybody, will be on the 11th, Wednesday, the 11th. And then the second meeting in December will be the following week on the 18th. So December has 2 meetings 1 week apart, which has probably never happened. So.
And so on the 11th, is that where the vote for the mayor takes place?
That's correct.
So you as an exiting council member, you still get to vote for the incoming mayor?
That's a very good question. I can't remember the answer to that. I just sort of asked it the other day. I believe so, because there's some agenda items, and that's one of them. Yes, so I think that's.
Yeah, I think that's your final meeting as a council person. So I think you do.
Yeah, we have to get through the agenda with me on it. So
okay,
but good point.
And then on the 18th, the new council member will be sitting at your spot.
Correct. Yeah. So I am kind of in the Siberia seat, so probably, but they might move things around. That's always a little bit of a challenge. That's not written down on who sits where, but
yeah.
Yes. And then, so District 1 was up at my district. And so that will be Gabby Ornelas will be, because she was unchallenged. And then they're still counting for District 5. So at the moment, that hasn't been certified yet.
So what is the process to, so we have Gabby coming on. What is the process of getting her kind of up to speed and getting her acclimated with the council? So
that's a great question. So one of the things that our city manager, Dan Singer, has introduced is this new council training. So I didn't get that when I came on. I was a little jealous when he started instituting it, but you meet with all the department heads, you meet with the departments, you get tours of our water recycling facility, of our water facilities. So you really get a good understanding of all the departments and everything. You get to sit down with the finance director and get a deep dive into the budget. So this, we do a great job for new council members to bring them up to speed, because I know, luckily I was on Measure T, so I had a good feeling, but I know other council members who have come on, you don't really have a clue what's going on.
Right.
And then you
Kinda
realize
sitting there
there's
going,
a million things you have to know.
Right.
And so it's very kind of, those first months can be really unnerving. So I think we do a really good job of bringing people up to speed.
Yeah, one of the things that I noticed, because I do the live stream for the council meetings, and we get an email with two packets. One is a summary of the agenda, or one of them is the agenda, and then the other is the detail packet with all the information in it. The only items that I pay attention to are the summary agenda, because I have to create these title slides that go with what the meeting's going on. But I was always impressed, because those packets are huge in some cases. And you would think that, and a lot of times it's like, oh, you kind of skim through it and then you sit down at the meeting and you deal with whatever. But the council really studies those packets, because they are there loaded with questions. And I, like you and Jenny Crosswright, you guys have like a list of things that, okay, so in this item, I want to talk about this, and this. So there's got to be a lot of preparation that goes into.
I know he reads
the
the
meeting.
packet.
Yeah. Across councils, there's kind of range, I sit down with a lot of people trying to get them to be council members, and I have to be careful, because I've turned away about 10 people after I kind of described things. So, there's kind of a range of involvement of how deep a dive you can do. But I am kind of a reader, and I'm a slow reader. So, if we have a 800-page packet and a lot of it is super technical and I don't know what it is, I don't want to vote on it unless I have sort of an understanding. So, a small packet will take me 2, 3, 4 hours to read. A large packet, I might do 12 hours or something. So some of them take deep dive, and then you're Googling, reading, and then, we come to the meetings with questions, but many times I think I'm pretty sure I'm the most annoying person to staff, as far as I've heard, because I'm peppering with them questions before, because I don't want to surprise them, or if it doesn't make sense to have a discussion on, they'll provide me an answer. So that's
So
a
you're
great
following
question.
up even outside of council.
Oh yeah,
And that's what I was going to ask you, is if you get something you don't understand, you have the ability to talk to staff or city manager before the meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. And then that's good for me.
Yeah.
And that's good for staff too, because that gives them a read. So you'd already mentioned that our meetings are pretty cohesive between council and staff. And partly that's why the reason staff understands that we want to know.
Yeah.
And they don't want to gloss things over. And they also have a heads up of what we might be confused
It just makes the meetings more efficient, and you can get through everything, and you're not having a 6-hour council meeting, because you've already kind of did the background work on it. So,
Although
we had a couple close ones.
well, one of the things I ran on was longer and more boring meetings. That was on my literature.
I remember that on your mayorship was.
And then the other staff has acknowledged that worked. So I'm counting that as a win. But our meetings are not crazy long, like other cities.
Compared to other cities,
But on the other hand, they're long enough to make sure that we're sharing what people need to understand. We're having good, solid discussions. So it's really important. So
I think every council member either I watched or I've been at, I mean, you guys are really efficient. You ask great questions. You're very clear on what you guys are asking, and city staff does a good job at presenting some responses or answers, whatever, that are pretty clear. And if they don't know, then they're going to go back and do that.
Right.
But it's really impressive because I've been to other council sessions for other cities, and you guys are by far one of the more efficient ones. So,
and luckily, it always ebbs and flows, but we don't have any, council members are real, speechifiers who just want to get up there and talk for half an hour on something. And so, so that's kind of good.
Well, and I think the fact that you guys are all kind of working together, and you guys all are going for that common goal to make the city better, and you can just see you all working well together. And because there's been councils where it just doesn't flow. And I think since you've been on there, I think the last 6 years or so, the council has been really good as far as flowing right way. So yeah.
We're running out of time, but what's the future going to hold for you? Now
Well,
that you're going to have all this free time.
if you saw my office, you'd know what job number one is, because it's about a foot deep in paper and work and stuff like that. So just kind of get, self-organized and try to get a little bit more, regimented about exercise and doing good things for myself, music. So a little bit time for myself, but I'm freaking out. So December 12th, I'm pretty sure I'm going to wake up and just, sit there and wonder,
You're in a sense unemployed now from the city.
where's all my emails and what's going on? I don't get to have, I have an opinion on this. So, so there's a
It's going
bunch
to be
of
a lot of public comments by Andy coming in the
Yeah.
future.
Well,
the meetings will be shorter. We know that now.
well, but we don't really have somebody who's coming to public, getting public comment, and staring the council members. So that could be a thing. But there's so much I'm already involved with that I can stay involved with. So one way or another, I hope to be able to be helpful to the city. So something will.
Are you looking at me even going back on maybe some other committees that you see?
I hadn't really thought about that. That's a possibility. So
Being your insight on that, you may be able to add, because I know with Measure R, they're looking at, once all that's final, that they're going to be looking for a committee.
Maybe
Possibly.
the council needs to
Possibly.
make that decision.
Yeah. So similar to a Measure T committee, so that's a possibility. And there's several other commissions out there that you can
and there's
provide
a
some good
bunch
insight.
of nonprofits in town, and there's stuff going on. For the short term, we still have the wish of getting a college center in town and a hospital. So that's still an iffy thing. So those are two things that I want to focus on for the short term, because that's it's timely.
We have room on our board.
Tourism Bureau too.
Tourism Bureau, which I'm sitting in on.
Yeah,
So
but we need people like you to that understands how a city works, that could actually advocate for college, advocate for a hospital, because you kind of know the inner workings of how that's possible.
Yeah, so I've definitely got a kind of a knowledge set and a skill set that I don't want to just let go away. So
you'll find a way to keep doing this. So
very good.
Real quick, what's your current business if people don't know?
So I'm manage the software development team. I do a little bit. So the piece of software we work on is one of the big labor unions in LA uses to track state projects and contractors. So it's all in a database system that you can use to do kind of stuff like that. So that's what we work on.
So I own a domain called Event Master Plus, and I've had this. I've scoped it out. I created a small prototype of this event software that allows businesses that run classrooms and events and different things to be able to do check-ins and passes and all this kind of stuff. So we should talk.
Yeah, sounds fun.
So all right, John, what do we got on the table?
This week there's actually a pretty cool event. There's a program called Mariachi Girl. It's a fundraiser that's going to help support the high school, not the drama team, but their performing arts group. So they're going to do a performance on November 15th at the high school. It's at 7:30. So if you're interested, you can go to their site, which is mariachigirl.com. And have all the details on that. But there's a huge amount of sponsors from the port down to other areas, other organizations. But they're going around all the county, and they're going to do 3 different events in Oxnard and in Camarillo later in the year. So yeah, it's a good program that helps support our youth in our community. So, and then we have next week, we have grand opening, E&D Boutique on Saturday, the 23rd, it is. Remember my dates. And then we have a sip and shop on that Friday, the 22nd, from 4 to 8. All the downtown businesses are doing you can go in there, you can do some shopping, holiday shopping, and they're going to have little gifts and little things for everybody to come in and do some tastings of various different things. We also have a grand farewell that we're going to do for David's Kitchen. It's instead of a grand opening, we're doing a grand farewell. They're going to be closing, but they're also going to introduce the new owner that's going to reopen that place. So we're going to celebrate Chef David. When he was around, he opened during COVID. We never did a grand opening for him. So they had asked if we would do this kind of farewell celebration to honor him. And so we're going to do that. That's at 5:00 on Thursday, the 21st. So
I have a great idea.
Well, just one thing, we have the holiday parade coming up, which
then the following week is the holiday parade.
I have a great idea for your grand farewell. So you know how you cut the ribbon? We restore the ribbon.
Could you do that?
Wow,
I'll have to try that. Okay, a little magic trick there. So, but yeah, and then the following week, we have the holiday parade, which is on the 30th. I know we're already getting there. So Thanksgiving week, and then we have Small Business Saturday. So support local businesses. We're encouraging everybody in the community to shop small this year. And then we have, the usual Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the whole thing. So there's a lot of shopping opportunities in our community. All the small businesses in our community are gearing up. They're getting all their holiday stuff in. So it's really cool to see that. Also, American Express actually did a commercial in Santa Paula. So it's playing right now. So if you want to see a shot of downtown snowing, just keep an eye on TV. You can search it on Google or one of your search engines, and you can just put in American Express Santa Paula, and it'll pop it up. Really cool commercial. Features one of our businesses, and then just the outside of downtown. So,
see, the residents are correct. There's just too much going on.
Yeah. And these are only some of the things. We all, then that same Sunday, we also have the first Sunday of the month where all the museums have stuff at the airport. So so the next 2 weeks are going to be slammed with different things.
Also, you need to check your local paper. Because there will be an ad running for the downtown area and for all businesses, and there'll be coupons that will be available on that ad.
The next 2 Wednesdays after today, the next 2 Wednesdays are going to be.
Did I miss my opportunity?
Are you still want to advertise?
Yeah.
Today's a deadline.
Oh,
so. Yeah,
okay.
We'll talk after. But all the businesses are pulling together. The whole holiday season was created by businesses, our local businesses. The chamber actually reached out to several businesses for their opinion. They came up with the theme. They came up with the poster. They came up with all what's going on. So
you mean Santa Paula created the holiday season?
We created our own holiday season.
Oh, okay. I
the
thought
theme.
Okay.
The Santa Paula holiday season.
When you said we created the holiday season, I was like, wow.
For Santa Paula.
Well, Santa Paula created the whole holiday season.
And our tagline this year is Eat, Shop, Play Santa Paula, which kind of ties into our tourism bureau as well.
Yes.
So,
and by the way, I have a domain called eatshopplayandstay.com.
Nice. Okay. We're not paying you anything for it. Okay. If we use it, just remember that. Okay.
Anyway, thank you so much, Andy. And
thank
you for your service to the community, because I know, you were very dedicated and very thorough in what you did. We obviously, it's not a goodbye, because you will still be very much engaged with the city, because I don't see you as one who kind of sits back and says, I'm done.
So long. Get on my horse.
And just remember, after 4 years, you may want to run again. So you never know, So people have come back and run again.
That's
true.
Now, is this software company a full-time job?
No, it's very part-time.
Very part-time.
And from home. So it allows me to do, other than council, I have a lot of sports, mainly kiteboarding. So that's going to free me up, because when there's wind, I want to go, and half the time I have meetings. So.
Nice.
So we'll bring him back in, early next year and see what he's up to.
Yeah.
There you go.
You're like,
what new adventures he has.
I want to go back on. Anyway, thank you, Andy. And thank you, John. As always, this is Listen Up Santa Paula. We will be back next week at 11 o'clock with Vice Mayor Chavez. So
all right.
With that, see, I forgot that I was producing.
That's right. You got to do that too. So
stay safe, stay warm, and we will see you all next week.
This has been a Rough Edge Studios production.
December.
120.
Oh,